everyone. Thank you for being so flexible this week. I'm at a conference in Phoenix and am unable to run chat for the week. So I'm going to go through some overview for you guys, and then most of the chat you'll be doing on your own, sort of self-paced. You're going to be doing it in Pear Deck. So when you log in, when you click on the link, it'll open the Pear Deck, and you guys will be able to type your responses, and then I will be able to, when I return home from Phoenix, which will be on Thursday night, I'll be able to check your responses and give you credit for attending chat. So you'll notice this is the first slide. Tonight you'll be looking at changing American culture. Third quarter procedure reminders, really it's just about what we're looking at in terms of the final exam. And then we're going to look at political cartoons tonight, and you're going to get an opportunity to practice. So what do you think were 5 most important examples of changes to American culture and society during the Gilded Age? So you're going to write down the 5 most important examples of changes. So remember, we've got rise of the cities, we've got immigration, we've got changes to politics, changes to labor, changes to companies and how they're run and things like that. So out of everything, what do you think are the 5 most important examples? Oh, and don't forget about Travel West. So all of that should be included. So just on your radar, the AP exam is Friday, May 8th. We're going to have a face-to-face exam final that will be a full practice exam about a week or 2 before the exam. So we'll let you know the exact date once we sort of narrow it down. I imagine Ms. Kimmick and I will be able to figure that out sometime next week when we're able to sit down and sort of look forward in terms of the calendar, and we'll get you that exact information. But hopefully this is on your radar. The idea is that we'll be taking the AP exam on Friday the 8th, and your final exam will be before that. After the final exam, we still have some stuff to do. We'll have a final project to work on in this class, so you won't quite be done, but at least all the testing will be done by that point. Okay? So tonight, once again, we're reviewing political cartoons. Political cartoons are meant to expose or be critical of an issue. Okay? It's sort of social commentary beyond the boundaries of the written word. Their main purpose is not to amuse you, but to persuade you. That's the Library of Congress. So it's not supposed to be funny. Now, sometimes you might find it funny because you might be like, like the Love Burns one of Trump and Mitch McConnell. Like, it's kind of amusing, but only because you have to understand the satire involved or the irony to really get a kick out of it. And maybe if you really think these 2 individuals wouldn't stab each other in the back, maybe you don't find this funny and you actually find it offensive, and that can be the case. I mean, sometimes the political cartoons are offensive, depending on your viewpoint. But really what they're trying to do is make a point about a perceived weakness or moral judgment on a specific issue. Now, of course, the image up at the top is supposed to be more of a celebration than a perceived weakness or moral judgment, and that will happen when you have a major crisis, when you have a death, when you have a success. Sometimes the political cartoons are commentary on this, like the Obama cartoon, where you've got Martin Luther King Jr. on one side and Abraham Lincoln on the other, sort of 2 people who push for the African-American community to then have Obama be the first African-American president. So that's a celebration, right? And that's the commentary. On the same time, at the bottom, you have that question of whether or not Mitch McConnell and Trump, are they actually working together, or are they gonna sort of not, and so that's that commentary as well. If you're interested in these, right now there's some really fascinating political cartoons on impeachment. Some have gone way too far, but some are actually pretty good. Now, methods in political cartoons. They use a lot of symbolism, like Uncle Sam, a dragon, a bear, a tiger, right? There's always going to be some sort of symbolism. So when you're talking about, when we're moving forward, think of the symbolism too of, sometimes it's the symbol of a country. So the bear might be Russia, the dragon might be China. Okay, so sometimes they don't actually use the actual person, but rather the symbol of the country. Metaphors, using objects to note similarity on to something else. So like a tiger pouncing on its prey is the imperialistic nature of a strong nation dominating a weaker nation. Irony, using words or images that convey meaning that is opposite of what is expected. So you guys in your midterm had the King Andrew Jackson cartoon, where King Jackson's holding the veto in his hand and he's stomping not just on the bank but also on the Constitution. And it's the idea that the POTUS, President of the United States, has overstepped his limits of power. Sarcasm, words or images that convey mockery or bitter irony. Boss Tweed is the overweight monarch and the working class is the small groveling servants. Stereotypes, real or imagined traits of an individual to represent an entire group. The Irish immigrant, drawn as a drunk, as a commentary on the Irish immigrant sentiment. We looked at that when we looked at the two immigrants, the German and the Irish, who were running around wearing either beer or whiskey kegs, right? And so that's that commentary on that belief of the anti-immigrant, you know, that we worry about them damaging American society, so being drawn that way to sort of stereotype it. Or caricature, so an exaggeration or distortion to make a point, like Reagan's thick black hair to comment on his image of having youthful energy. You've got Obama's ears being very big there, sort of that commentary. You know, it's a caricature, right? So that you really know which African-American male you're talking about. So Thomas Nast created a lot of political cartoons for Harper's Weekly. He was an immigrant himself. He was a New Yorker, and he was very critical about the failures of the government on Reconstruction. So you guys looked at one of his political cartoons in your DBQ. The one that was the worse than slavery cartoon was that, where he was saying, we are not leaving African Americans better off under current Reconstruction. We're actually leaving them worse off because of the fact that we're letting the White League and the KKK completely control them. He believed that the American dream was a tangible fact, quite literally believed that an American had freedoms and opportunities denied to the vast majority of the world. So, you're going to take some steps to analyze a cartoon. You identify the people, animals, and objects. Take note of symbols and metaphors. Does this match up to the reality of the time or the symbol? Examine any captions or words spoken by the figures. Does the artist agree with the idea or the person they're portraying? Often the key is in the captions or the gap between what is reality and what's being shown. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on this link here. Okay, and that takes you to this wonderful thing link. And the nice thing about thing link is you take this image and all of this stuff's hyperlinked, so you can read information about it. Here's the title, different things that you might not be able to read, so that you could sort of see who all these people are. So you're going to look at that, okay, and then you're going to go back to this, and you're going to go back to the Pear Deck, and you're going to explain what Nast was trying to portray. So think about hip. What's the historical context of the time? Who's the intended audience? What's the purpose? What's he trying to portray? And remember, his point of view is important. Okay? After you do that in the Pear Deck, you're going to continue your practice by analyzing the political cartoons, and on Pear Deck, explain the key symbolism, the author's point of view, and the historical situation of the specific document. Now, like for example, this one, you may not know the author, but what do you think their point of view is? If you think about who they're criticizing, who they're supporting, what does that say? What's the key symbolism, and what's the historical situation? So the context, what's going on in the time period that's important. Other times, this is a Kepler. It was released in a magazine called The Puck. Okay, Kepler was another famous one, cartoonist along with Nast. So here's his. Here you've got this that was published between 1860 and 1869. Here's another, this is The White Man's Government. Okay, this is another Nast cartoon. And here you've got another one. This is really famous. It's one of my favorites. And then finally, What's Due on Friday. No commentary that you have to give for this one. Just remember, discussion board post, your original, and commenting on a peer. The Gilded Age SAQ. Remember to race in your answer, right? Restate, answer, cite, and explain. Don't forget to explain. Also, when it asks for evidence, it has to be specific evidence, those nouns that support it. Political machines, you're looking at document analysis. Some of it are political cartoons, so you'll continue to practice. And then understanding populism, some key things into populism and the populist movement, including looking at the Wizard of Oz, and then retake the quiz if necessary. I will be able to have access to my email, so you can email me if you have any questions. Otherwise, I will respond and be, responding to anything additional and dealing with all sorts of stuff when I return back on Thursday night. Okay? I hope you guys have a good week. Bye.